1, 2, 3. Shazam!
Shazam! Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of TDD. But if I had to guess, I'd say it's somewhere around November 7th, publicly. Maybe a week earlier than that, if you're a patron.
Patrons! You're a patron. You're getting this first. Oh, yeah.
I'm Ryan Miller, and that was Black Madam.
There we go. That's the sequel to Yes, Madam.
And we are a book club for movies. We watch one movie a week. We talk about it together. If you want to join us, you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on podcast at bookclubformovies.com, and Patreon, where, again, you might already be there because this show, if everything went right, is going up a week early for the patrons. We're recording it back to back with our final Wiener of the Caesar. If you tuned in for any of our scary movies last month,
Wiener of the Caesar.
Et tu, Brute?
That definitely is the Wiener, Brute.
Now who's the Wiener? But we did something we very rarely do, I feel like. We saw a new movie in the theaters at just about the same time. But why did we do it? We did it because it was Black Adam. So yes, this episode may very well be retitled Why We Liked Black Adam instead of Did We Like Black Adam? Because I think we liked Black Adam. So if you're here for some well-reasoned, thought-out fanboyism, please stay tuned. I'm underselling it. I just know that there will be some things and reasons that we have that others might not necessarily have for liking such a movie that I think is doing generally pretty well anyway.
Doing very well.
So
yeah,
there.
Actually, this is if you want to feel even more vindicated, this movie is The Rock's best opening of all time. I'm sorry.
Is it really?
Dwayne Johnson's best opening of all time, I believe.
I thought he went back to The Rock. I thought he was okay with that now, especially since he's been doing the wrestling appearances here and there.
I assume he is okay with it, but he still calls himself Dwayne the Dwayne.
Dwayne the Dwayne?
Yes, he's Dwayne.
I do like that better. Yeah. Excellent. So, just so you know what you're in for.
Yes.
Matt and the viewers of audio mediums everywhere. Do you have a synopsis for Black Adam? Can you synopsize something that has been in your blood for decades?
We'll see. Black Adam coming at you at 2 hours and 5 minutes. Written by, these are some rough ones, Adam Dykeel, Rory Haynes, and Sohrab Noshiravani. Directed by Jaume Colette Serra, starring Dwayne Johnson, Aldous Hodge, Pierce Brosnan, Noah Centineo, Sarah Shahi, Quintessa Swindell, Marwan Kenzari, and we're going to go with that. Here's your book club for movies synopsis for Black Adam. After 5,000 years, the man known as Black Adam has been brought back to save Kahndaq.
Excellent. And it's true, you have been a fan of Black Adam for 5,000 years. I guess that's okay. You've been a fan of Shazam in the extended Shazam universe for well before. I am even a hangers-on here at this point, but I have garnered a great love for the character and the universe. We went and saw Shazam, the first movie, together in real life, in person. I was at your house.
It was great.
I was staying at your house, and then we went and saw it in a theater at the Alamo Draft House. Even
indeed,
my one and only time. We saw us.
We saw
Alamo
us
too,
there as well.
Okay, yeah, all right. So I've been there twice. Would love to go back. It's still in business. I know they were hit by the
100%.
Right? Still okay.
That's
cool.
where we saw Black Adam.
So did they have cool merch? Did they have any? Did you get some more glasses or anything? Did they do that?
No, they didn't have anything fun for these.
I still have that. I brought home a pint glass from Shazam. That is, technically I brought home two, which was your doing. You thought I should have two just in case. Yeah. And my son did break one of them within months. So still have one. It's this close to being packed up, never to be used for actual drinking again. But yes, I do enjoy Shazam quite a bit. Don't have the breadth of knowledge that you do, but you being the consummate anti-gatekeeper have let me in and do allow me to enjoy it as well.
I don't gatekeep. I believe everybody should love Shazam.
And I think they've got good reason to. We really liked that first movie. I think,
Big
again, unapologetically, really, really liked that first movie. Like Zachary Levi,
Yeah.
like what the story did. It also felt like kind of the beginning of the beginning for the DCU or the DCCU. I
DCCC.
feel like I've never heard anybody say that.
DCEU.
The DC movies, which up till then had been fairly grim, dark affairs. I know that's a word that not everybody loves, but it is fairly descriptive, with the exception of maybe Wonder Woman and Man of Steel. Man of Steel, yeah, certainly.
I mean, I don't know. People still will argue the Man of Steel thing because of the ending, but
Or the moment where his father dies, and yes, sure.
which, yeah, again, don't save me, even though, whatever.
Man of Steel is beyond the scope of this particular podcast, but in the way that Shazam kind of signaled a new, brighter future, I feel like, for the DC movies, Black Adam continues, I think, especially for a darker movie, both color-wise, but also thematic-wise.
Yes.
Still a bright, poppy movie, very poppy movie, in fact.
Oh, yeah. I agreed.
say.
I actually think one of the things that I'm so surprised by is how close they really got the character. Like, he is there. I mean, Dwayne Johnson nailed it. Like they nailed the story tone for the character in general and for the others. Like, I definitely, I will say, so I don't have a ton of background with Cyclone. She's not a character I ever cared about.
Yeah, me neither.
Atom Smasher is one who I do know about, but I never also was interested in. He was just not,
Same.
not interesting. So, but Hawkman and Dr. Fate, that's the money right
Obviously,
there.
yes.
We love that. So I actually really loved a whole mess of things that go on with this movie. But yeah, I think the tone here is a nice split between, it has that there's a gravity to everything that's going on, and he is not a good guy. I mean, at the end of the day, the part of this movie really is asking the question about, who your heroes are and what that perspective means. Because that's been Adam for the past 30 to 40 years, where he's, I mean, I guess this is really more probably post-crisis stuff. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Actually, yeah, we're getting a very I forget who the other is, but it's a Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns and, gosh, dang it, somebody else did a reworking. I didn't go back and read the comics like I wanted to, but I did listen to some things that kind of go through the history. And Black Adam as a character, and as we know him now, kind of appears around it's post-crisis. Jeff Johns and...
Yeah, I mean, the Jerry Ordway had a lot to do with the changes, and then also...
freaking Goyer, I think at some point. Yeah.
David Goyer also.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think they nailed a whole bunch of that stuff, and the fact that when I watched the movie, I had read that apparently they had a hard time. It was very close to getting an R rating, and they had to cut down some stuff. And after I was like going into it, I'm like, yeah, I have a hard time believing that. No, I'm actually, believe it. I believe it.
Well, right up until the end, that final kill. Because that is the thing. He's going about killing. And comics wise, I feel like it's been a pretty long journey. They obviously, especially once he started getting popular again, they kind of tried to do the thing where he's basically a good guy or an anti-hero at best, but the road has been slow, I feel like, compared to other characters where they've kind of turned on a dime, or in a single book they're like, oh, he's good now, and they spend maybe one comic on that, but essentially he's a good guy.
Right.
Like,
so Adam has really never been, and not until very, very recently, about 3 years ago, they changed it up. They changed him to, like, his name becomes something else, like Tethon or something, and he's a younger version of him.
Oh, so there's only, I got the impression there was two living simultaneously, Teth Adam and then a different kind of Adam. Is it just Teth Adam?
So I did not like where they were going with Justice League, so I stopped reading it because I didn't want him in the Justice League. I think conceptually just bad, and I did not like the writing that was going on for it, so I didn't follow it up. But he's in the Justice League, and he's a weird younger version of himself.
Yeah, he's a
too.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I don't love it, and so yeah, being a split between the two makes sense. But
is that the only Adam that is alive now, or is there two?
I have no idea because I'm not
Okay.
reading that particular Justice League, so I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I don't know what they're doing with that, but
I don't know either.
But but at the end of the day, like a lot of the post-crisis stuff, it was. I mean, he is still a bad guy. He's not. He never tries to be, but he ultimately is the ruler of Kahndaq, and he just doesn't want people to come to Kahndaq. That's really been his thing for the past 20 years. Stay away from Kahndaq, and I have no interest in talking to you, dealing with you, coming in contact with you. I don't care about you.
He's a vigilante protector.
It's only when Kahndaq is under threat does he really come out from Kahndaq. Like that's the only time.
Right.
People go and bug him or something, but ultimately he just wants Kahndaq to be left alone. Now, there are varying versions of him where some of where he's more benevolent to his people than others. He certainly is not a like a dictator over the people, but he definitely does rule them to a point. So there is that. But yeah, he is most certainly the character that is used as he is often, I think, used as a Deus Ex Machina because he's as strong and can beat Superman. It takes Superman and Billy to defeat Adam. I mean, Billy can do it on his own. He could do it with the family, but like Adam is incredibly strong. And one of the things that we get throughout this movie, which I do get, and it is frustrating on some level, but following the books, it makes sense. Hurting Adam is very difficult. Like it's
Right.
not something anybody really can do. So the early editions of the character started. He only showed up in the Marvel Family #1. That was his first and only real appearance in the original in the Fawcett books. He shows up.
It might not have been the first issue. Actually, I want to say it was 20 something or 30.
No,
actually,
no. Marvel Family #1 is his first appearance.
I am wrong then.
And he's gone right away. Then when DC
maybe when he reappears.
just give me a minute,
I'm
get
trying
there.
to interrupt you. Is it working?
When DC gets Fawcett stuff, they reprint that first appearance in issue #8 of Shazam. In issue #28, his first technical appearance in the DC universe as a full-fledged character that's not a reprint. That's Shazam #28. That's what you're thinking of. Or you're thinking of Shazam #8.
No, I think, yeah, obviously you're right. Yeah.
I know
I'm
I'm
not
right.
going to argue it, yes.
Yes, don't. You're wrong. So in the first kind of iterations of the character, he really was just straight up trying to rule the world. He was 5,000 years old, and it was before Kahndaq was a thing. It was just Egypt. He was given Shazam, the wizard, gave him the name, except it wasn't like it started off as Egyptian gods and then or Greek gods, and then it moved to Egyptian gods, I think, or something like that. There's a weird.
Yep.
But then he has different gods than Billy, of course, because of the timing. So like originally he's beaten by the wizard and sent out into space or something for 5,000 years. And then
Yep.
he comes back and
literally just flies. It takes him that long to fly back to get his revenge.
Right.
When he shows up again.
He comes back and he gets Billy to say Shazam. So he turns back into Billy, ties him up and covers his mouth and the Shazam family's mouth. Then Uncle Marvel, I think, is the one at that point who gets him to say Shazam, which I think that's the point when it all catches up to him and he turns to dust. And that's the end of that version of Adam. Then they bring him back in the DC versions and he becomes more of the directly the Shazam villain again. And then post-crisis, he starts becoming an actual character that has actual character.
Right. Gotcha.
So what we're getting with the Dwayne Johnson Black Adam is kind of a mix, mostly based off of the Jeff Johns post-crisis. It's that like probably early 2000s kind of storyline with the JSA kind of involved too. So
I mean, you can kind of guess by the phrase Dwayne Johnson Black Adam what kind of Black Adam you're going to get. You know, like even though, I mean, Johnson hasn't shied away from being the out and out bad guy. I think of Doom quite often.
I try to.
But nowadays, you know, you're not going to get, you know, a truly bad guy played by Dwayne Johnson. I feel like, you know,
probably not. But this is, I bet, right now is as close as he'll get, which which works
certainly.
Because he does get to be the villain of the DC universe for the most part. Like, he is definitely somebody that. You know, I mean, we jump into the movie. In fact, let's jump into it. One of the things that I wanna immediately get out in front of for the flick. I love that we are just tossed into the JSA. We are given a conversation between Hawkman, between Carter Hall, Aldous Hodge's character Carter Hall, and Amanda Waller. Again, love that she is back. Give me Viola Davis as Amanda Waller every day of the week. She's Amanda. That's the only Waller there is now.
Mm-hmm, sure.
I love that we're just tossed in. It's bam. You need to put the team together.
Although,
and he's like, okay,
sorry, you might have to fix Amanda Waller for me. Where did she end up at the end of the new Suicide Squad?
She's just she's fine.
Still instated, still doing her thing. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Was it? No, I don't even want to ask. Was she dethroned in the other Suicide Squad then? Why do I feel like she was? No, didn't get her comeuppance at all at any point.
She has been dethroned in the comics, but in the movies right now, she's still just the leader of Task Force X.
Okay.
At the end of the Suicide Squad, the general, like the group at the control room, knock her out to help the squad, which is what leads to their punishment in Peacemaker, which is them having to be with Peacemaker.
Oh, okay. I see now this is happening in all of the properties I haven't seen. We'll come back to we'll remind me about Waller when we come back to the Stinger for Black Adam. But
of course, go ahead. Yes. So Waller is talking to Carter Hall and is like, you need to handle this because at this what we kind of have going at the beginning is something is going on in Kahndaq where a group called Intergang is basically taking over the entire country, and you know they're acting as a military force, essentially. You know, a private military corporation. They're a PMC, just running the country for themselves.
Right.
And so there is a small group of believers who think that there is a crown that if it is captured by the Intergang, it will give them unimaginable powers, and they realize, oh, it's real. And in the process of getting the crown, they release Adam from his slumber of 5,000 years.
A small group of ragtag rebels, like our heroes, try to intercept Intergang's interception of the crown and get the crown, but in the process, wake Black Adam. That's how he comes back.
Right. And this is what sets off the whole thing. And then again, so we know he comes back, he kills a bunch of people right away. And that opening sequence where he, like, it's a good 5-minute long thing of us getting a real good handle on everything. So this is also a phenomenal movie to follow Shazam with, because with Shazam, even at the end, he still is not in control of his powers fully. He does not know how strong he is. Right. This is what Billy could do if he wanted to. And to know that is one of...
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, this is Billy if he has all that anger and all of that he can do every single thing that Adam can do. Adam is no different functionally, magically, outside of their brains.
Right.
They have a different perspective because of where they come from, which is part of the reason they exist in the first place as you know, characters to be against each other.
Right.
But I love that in that 5 minutes, we see how fast he is. We see how unapologetic he is. We also see that he recognizes danger versus a civilian, innocent.
Yeah.
Because he has no interest in killing Adriana Tomasi, who, by the way, we can get into that too, because that is she should be, if my brain is right, I think she would be ISIS if they were ever to bring ISIS into, because Tomasi is, I think, ISIS's last name.
The Egyptian god you're speaking of.
No, I am talking about the mighty ISIS from the comic books / TV show that is a character in DC.
Well, either way, you're not speaking of the terrorist organization.
No.
Okay, good.
I'm not speaking of, yes, she is ISIS. She is the entire organization. They found her. But
recruitment techniques, really.
Yeah, but I we get to see exactly what he is capable of right away. And then him flying up and being like, I don't know where I am. I don't know this place because we're now in the future and this is so different for him. It's fantastic. It's a great introduction to that character.
It's a great introduction. Yeah, it is. He gets pinged by one of the Eternium rockets, so we get to learn that Eternium is the thing that does a little bit of damage to him. It's also the thing the crown is made out of. I feel like it's not from the comics. This feels like movie.
I think
convenience.
Eternium exists in the comics, but I don't think it's ever been used this way. I mean, I don't remember.
Yeah. And honestly, they don't necessarily follow up with that. It's not like I thought by the end it was going to be, we have an Eternium weapon and we have Adam at his knees with this Eternium weapon, and it doesn't really ever. The crown does figure into it and does kind of become his weakness. Maybe I'm supposed to garner that because the final bad guy is kind of powered by that Eternium crown is why he can damage Adam at all. Maybe.
Yes, that's the theory. Is that right. Sabak can hit Adam with magic that can actually it can hit him with something that can
he is
break
a threat,
magic.
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the worst part of the movie is that fight. Like, let's be real.
Oh, the ending fight? Not a fan?
With Sabak. It's just not. It's the same issue with Wonder Woman. You've got this great movie, and it is heavy. This one is way heavier on the CGI, but the CGI for that end fight, like Sabak, for all the other CGI, it's like we spent all of our money making Dr. Fate look amazing. Sabak looks fine.
Well, but Dr. Fate looks so amazing, though.
Dr. Fate does look amazing.
He might be my like all of my favorite imagery, like how his powers are visualized. I mean, of course, Brosnan also, but still just the helm, all of the design choices made. I know you're not a fan. You want some eyeballs in there, but you do get them by the end.
You do get them at the end.
Everything about Fate is so darn good looking.
It's great. No, it's amazing. And so let's get to that though. So Aldous Hodge at Carter Hall. I love this. Again, I mentioned this, that we're just thrown in to the JSA. It's Amanda Waller has Hall's number. We already know that he like they're talking. She is telling him this is a major situation. Get your people together. Are you sure the team you've got is going to work? Yeah. It's going to be fine. He brings in Fate. I love that we are also given. We know they know each other. We know.
Yeah. Oh, they have. I mean,
let's not. They have traveled together for many, many, many years. We know.
They have,
and they allude to it without just exposition dumping it on us. And I love. They do.
That. It's obvious that they are covering a lot of ground very quickly.
Yes.
With some of it, but. Somehow, and again, I don't know if I'm fanboying here, it works for me. Like, I never felt like I was. I mean, yes, you are thrown into it, but for some reason it worked. I didn't feel like I didn't understand or that it was unearned. Somehow that's it. I think it still feels earned is the crazy thing. And that might just be because of Brosnan and
Aldous Hodge.
Yes. That bring the appropriate amount of gravitas and everything to the roles.
Well, and I think the other thing that works here is I feel like this is maybe one of these first movies that's introducing a bunch of characters. And I will say this movie is way overstuffed. I don't think I don't think Cyclone or Atom Smasher were really needed in this movie, but I get why they're there, and they are fun. They work out. It doesn't break anything, but I also can see a movie without those characters being necessary.
And just more Hawkman and Fate, right?
Right.
Like, good point. Yeah.
Right. Because really what it comes down to at the end of this is Hawkman and Fate are the two that are actually fighting and working against Adam or with him or trying to figure out the situation. The other two ostensibly are comic relief and a little bit of a love story. And I mean, And Cyclone looked cool. I thought the powers looked freaking rad.
Yep. Also.
But again, just don't like, cool. She's there. Don't care. Like didn't do much for me.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, even in the battles, I know one of them ends with Atom Smasher basically holding, because he can get real big, holding Adam down with one of his fingers until he gets knocked out. But for the most part, yeah, they don't make a whole bunch of use for them either.
Right. And again, I think it's because we've got an overstuffed story here, trying to get a lot out.
Yep.
But again, jumping back, one of the things that I think really works for the movie overall is you're talking about the JSA and kind of being tossed into these characters exist and then feeling like it's earned, is that this is maybe the first movie I can think of where we are just thrown in and given no background on any of those characters, but they feel like a team. Like those two felt like a team, and you
feel the history between Hawkman and Fate.
Yeah,
really, yeah.
And I think part of that comes from just the world, our world, the actual real world has had so many movies with teams showing up that now we're at a point where we can just do that. We can just throw those characters in. We'll fill it out later. We don't need 2 hours of backstory on each character just so we can get the Avengers. That's not a, not to take off on the Avengers, obviously, but you know what I mean? It's we can now as a society kind of accept some of these characters as just, they exist. They are a team. They've been a team. They know each other.
I both agree and also not sure I like that at all.
No,
I mean, again, here I never feel like it's the version where they're like, you get this, right? I don't have to actually do the work. I can just give this to you.
No,
please do the work.
But I mean, but you know what I'm saying ultimately is that we can introduce Dr. Fate, or we can introduce Hawkman. One of the things that is not talked about at any point in this movie, however, is very clearly leaned on if you know the character, is, and it will come up again, I'm sure, is Hawkman is a reincarnated being.
Yeah.
He's like 1 billion years old. He's known Fate for thousands of years. Like, he's known Fate for as long as Adam's been around. It's one of and on top of that, he's an alien, so there's that whole thing. But
also depending on which Hawkman you're talking about. But yeah, there was a part at the end even where I thought they were going to lean into that, where Hawkman kind of dies. I was like, oh, they're going full reincarnation, but
totally thought they were going to do it
something different. But I think I've got it. Hearing you talk about it, there are times where this happens and you feel like it happens without any knowledge of where they're actually coming from. Like this happens with characters too, just in any movie, right? Like if there's no backstory for those characters, whether or not it appears on screen, right? But does the person writing, portraying, know that backstory? It informs the character that we get in the movie. I think obviously that's what's happening here, is they know the backstory. They're prepared with it. Even if we don't get it, they're able to portray it. Like it feels right.
Agreed.
It feels good.
Yeah. And to, so just kind of stepping forward a little bit into the film, we have this interesting kind of two-sided story being told. We've got the JSA where Hawkman, and I gotta say, I love Aldous Hodge here as Carter, because in my head, this is the Carter that I expect, where he is a military guy. He thinks as a military person. He's given a job. Do the job. So that's what he's doing. He is very stuck in that mode. He's kind of like Peacemaker in a way, which is something Waller exploits. And Fate,
true. Yeah.
Fate is the voice of reason in every respect. He is the one who's like, like he's not responding to Waller. Fate doesn't talk to Waller, partially because Fate answers to a higher calling. I mean,
who cares? Yeah,
at
yeah,
any
yeah.
point, he can just put the helmet on and bye. But
Shades of Doctor Strange in Endgame, right?
Yes.
He kind of feels like the guy that knows how it has to go or how it can go, and he's just sitting back and letting it happen. It's fate. It really works for his whole thing.
It does. And when he so the two stories we end up getting here are essentially Fate and the JSA, and I'm going to say Fate because I want him for more than Hawkman. Honestly, I loved Hawkman, but it's all about Dr. Fate.
It's all about Dr. Fate.
It's the JSA trying to figure out how to manage Adam, while we also have this story of Adam dealing with the woman who helped bring him back and her son who he saved kind of by proxy. It's accidental, but also on purpose in a way. And from the Kondakian perspective, we get some of the greatest freaking lines out of this movie, I think, ever. One coming from Tomas, where she says, when Intergang came and took over Kondak for the past 50 years, where have you been? You haven't been here. Not at all. And just again, super simple, biting commentary on Western integration and invasion into countries, and ignoring that. But then also we get the moment where Hawkman is going to take the kid, and Adam refuses to because he says it's not your country. This is not your child, and it's not your country.
Oh, I have that. Not your son, not your country, not your decision.
Right. And again, what a freaking, that is a statement, man. And it's a great statement. It's something that needs to be said and paid attention to in reality.
Yeah, it's not, I don't think the movie is about that by any stretch. It's still a big blockbuster, fun comic book movie. But it's that is acknowledged, and it goes along with the whole, you're right, JSA shows up, like, where have they been? I mean, I thought that before anybody said that, not just because this is the first we see of them, but again, them showing up to kind of police this situation is kind of like, it's not front and center, but it's always at the back of every interaction,
But I think this is all on purpose, though. I don't think anything here is done by accident, and I think these thematic elements are an important piece of who Adam is as a character now.
That's exactly where I was going. I think the reason it works also is because somebody at least understood that it figures into who Adam is, but also his leverage. Like, what type of hero is he going to be? I mean, yes, it's anti-hero, whatever. He's coming to terms with being a leader, maybe being a hero, maybe, he's all of these things that he's not, but, he will save innocence when it comes down to it, because so he's coming to terms with that. It fits with that same discussion that they've been having. It fits with, it's part of his leverage. He's not going to become a Superman, obviously. He's not going to become a Hawkman or a Dr. Fate. He's going to become Black Adam for Kondak. It works. Yeah, somebody had something figured out.
And let's quickly talk about Fate.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how good Pierce Brosnan here is. I will say, I feel like, is he coasting in a lot of these things where it's just, hey, Pierce, say this line as if you were just talking to anybody in the world, and he's like, sure. Oh, and hold this helmet, and he's like, yes, of course. But
the thing is, I enjoy elder statesman Brosnan at this point.
And him as Kent, it is it works because I can see that being Kent. Now what I will say is, the bummer being, of course, that the Fate dies at the end. We saw this coming about 1,000 miles away.
Yeah, I kind of got the feeling that Brosnan wasn't going to be in for the multi-picture long haul also, but doesn't rule out like he could still star in a this movie Dr. Fate movie, right? Like a prequel, as they say.
They could certainly do that. Yes, of course. But more likely what they will do is have have the other guy take over Fate, whose name is Khalid. Khalid took over for Kent. And I mean, Kent and Khalid have been back and forth. Actually, the most recent Justice League Dark has both of them working together, and the Tower of Fate kind of arguing with Naboo, the name, which is the name of the helm of Naboo. Not different than the planet from Star Wars.
Amidala's
that's
planet.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we're there.
I feel like we tried to make a joke for a second, and then both of us bailed out when we couldn't figure.
We have successfully integrated Star Wars with this.
We made a Disney. We successfully made a Disney.
We made a Disney. But yeah. So I do want to mention that, like, the stuff they did with him, I loved his character, the way he managed everything. But then I don't know if I could have asked for a more perfect visual representation of that character. Like,
absolutely, like I said,
the magic stuff is great. I guess the one nitpick I had, and it's a little nitpicky, beyond the eyes, which I just didn't like it.
I dig it, but it's cool.
I like the helm. It's fine because it is the helm. It just doesn't have the eyes, but it's just weird. But the one thing that I think I missed out a little bit on, and I know he did it, is there were not enough Ankhs. Like, his powers are very Ankh heavy. And yes, he created the Ankh, and he pins down Adam at one point, and he does it again and pins Sabak down, I think. And it's cool, and it looks great. And all the stuff when he splits into the multiple versions of himself was super rad. Like, you have to make the comparison if you watch movies, because you're going to. It's not even you want to. You're just going to. You're going to go, oh, Dr. Fate, Doctor Strange. Got it. That's the thing, right?
They're both doctors, yeah.
They're both doctors. But I do think that for the similarities in what we've seen film-wise between, the MCU and now what we've seen from Fate, I think they differentiated Fate enough to look.
Oh yeah, I never had that issue. In fact, when I talk about Doctor Strange, it was more just from they occupied the same space because they saw the future and that's yeah. No, I'm just kind of building off that because they are in very many ways similar characters. Sure.
I admittedly though, what a bummer! It would have been so cool to see the Tower of Fate. But then, if we get the Tower of Fate, that means they can bring Constantine there and Zatanna, and we're getting it. I'm getting too far. I got.
This is the other thing I failed to mention is that you have almost as long a history with the character of Dr. Fate as you do with Shazam, right?
Yeah, because of the little kid. I had the original blue and yellow, that figure. I carried it around. I didn't know who he was for the longest time as a kid.
Oh, really?
Because I just loved him. I had it like it was. I got it, with things, but I didn't know of any comics with him at that point. So I was really, really young, but I carried that character around for the longest time, and I had him in my head. And when I recognized him for the first time, I was probably 9 or 10, maybe, when I saw him in a comic. I went, oh, that was that action figure.
That would have been mind blowing. Yeah,
it was mind blowing.
Not knowing how action figures work necessarily, that
they
exist. It's a thing. There's
so what it was that he was a character that I didn't have. Like, I loved the look of the character, but he wasn't in any comics that I read. Like, I never saw him until I was like 9
he's always been kind of C tier I guess maybe B if you count powers, but yeah, it's not like he's had as many even solo titles as, I guess,
he's had
him
some.
And Black Adam might be.
Black Adam's got more solo titles than Dr. Fate,
especially
for sure.
now. Yeah,
but as a kid, I had him with the Flash, and I remember I had him with the Flash. I had him with this, but I didn't know his name, and it was just one of those things that when I found out his name, like, it just became ingrained in my my brain, and I never forgot.
Especially pre-internet era. Think about, like, remember not knowing things, or like having to just come across them in the world to see what they were or figure them out.
Going to a library.
Yeah. even.
So Dr. Fate, fantastic. Again, Aldous Hodge, the look they quickly talking about Hawkman, the mace was awesome. Very cool. And I like that when he was swinging that thing, it looked like he was like freaking putting some power. Like they gave that mace weight for when he hit things, and it looked great.
They did, and it's good because I think if anybody, and it might just be because of the role that they gave him, because Hawkman's kind of the organizer. You're right. Waller goes to Hawkman and is like, get your buddies together. Like he's the leader of the JSA for all intents and purposes, right?
Yeah.
For all of that, they don't do like he might be the one that gets the short shrift for me. Like they don't really explain. They certainly don't explain. Like with Fate, it kind of works because he's otherworldly, and they probably do give him a little bit more backstory than Hawkman. But when Hawkman's fighting Adam and going toe to toe, they don't really explain why he can do that. Why that's
right.
It's not just his armor, obviously. So yeah, that would have been something I would have enjoyed more. There's a little bit more explanation about that.
I think that one of my biggest complaint with Hawkman, again, I think that they mostly nailed the character, but I do think they made him a little too one note. He really was just constantly, this movie does have a case of that romantic comedy issue where all they have to do is talk for about 3 seconds and the issue's resolved, but neither of them want to talk. And Hawkman and
him and Black Adam butting heads for most of the movie. Yeah.
Because and Fate is going like, yeah, I know what's going. We just need to talk to him. We just need to talk to him. Let me just Adam, hey, guy, okay, all right. Look, guys.
Again.
Yeah, hey, ding 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 ding. We're stopping, pause. I don't know. But so I do think Hawkman got the short shrift, but I am happy he was introduced. I like Aldous Hodge a lot in the role, and I want more of that.
Hawkman movie, totally fine. Hawkman prequel, same thing, like Dr. Fate, totally fine. Give it to me.
Now, can we talk briefly, or maybe not? I don't. Again, I keep saying this. Can we talk about the introduction and then the reveal of Adam's powers?
Yes. In what way?
Well, so at the beginning of the movie, which by the way, I love that they did the Steve Rogers work here, where they took The Rock and were like, okay, we're gonna put you on a scrawny guy.
Yes, which
that was very
far
funny.
Less believable than the Steve Rogers one for whatever reason, but
because I feel like they didn't change the size of his head. Like it was still pretty big, like oversized rock head on a body that was just not quite.
That is true. Also probably just that rock. Like you can find pictures of Chris Evans and be like, oh, he's not buff. But I don't think I could find pictures of The Rock where he's not buff.
Yeah, so, even when he was like 8, he was like,
yeah, doesn't work.
So at the beginning of the film, we are introduced to a young boy who is making all sorts of noise and being problematic in the building of, the
people of Kahndaq are enslaved by the king who's trying to build the crown with the Eternium, so they're mining them. Yeah.
And so, a young boy starts a little bit of trouble. We find out that it's, The Rock's son, and obviously because we see him kind of like, it's kind of a cloaked shot, but we know it's him. We get a little bit. And then
wait, did you know that from the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that reveal actually came to me.
Oh no.
And worked within the movie. Yeah,
no, when there's a moment when the kid is running, I think he's running up the hill. There's a moment where we see the Rock, the CGI small version of Rock.
But after, and the movie very much is throwing this feint, like they're making you think that Black Adam was the boy, and he wasn't.
Oh yeah. No, I right away knew it was his son because of that.
Yeah, see, I didn't know. Is that from the comics? Is that part of the story?
Yes, his family was killed.
That I remembered,
but I don't know that it was like it. But I don't think it wasn't. So then the reveal we get is that Adam's son is the one who was taken to the other plane taken to the Rock of Eternity, and the wizards gave him the power. We're given throughout the entire movie assuming that that's Black Adam. If you caught it at the beginning, which apparently I did, I thought it was,
I did not. Yeah. They got
it was
me with
his
it.
son. I didn't really think about. I did question, well, how did he get the powers? But then I forgot about it until I was like, well, they'll probably explain
But it works, yeah, because he got the powers because his son, who had the Shazam powers, decided to save him
right
after he was shot. So basically, made like Marvel family'd him to be
Yes.
Black Adam. So it was kind of like he was never truly called to the position. So it makes sense that he'd be struggling with it a little bit. You know,
Absolutely,
like that totally
yeah.
works, right?
And I love that, and that's what I was getting at was as soon as he is given the power, his son is killed through an assassin with a crossbow.
Through an arrow, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but I do kind of snicker every time somebody dies immediately from an arrow.
Well, he's a small kid now, you know. He's got thin bones. I don't know.
I guess.
But then that's what sets Adam off, and that's what ultimately puts us into the situation that we're in with the crown. And it is a cool moment because the way they faint it at the beginning is it does look like the guy got the crown and the big fight caused the explosion and all this, and we find out no, Adam was pissed. Adam blew up the palace. Adam was the reason for a lot of extraneous death.
Which again really worked for me. Like all of those story elements, totally enjoyed.
All of that comes together. Yeah. So I think that ultimately this is a movie that really steps up. I hate to say it. I really hate it. I hate it, but I am going to say it. He wasn't wrong. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe has changed. That this was for every good, like, wonderful moment in Shazam that just kind of warms your heart. This is the movie that it's not the opposite where your heart goes cold, but it's like it's the adult version. You know, this is like, again, this is what Shazam could do, and keeping that in the back of your head, knowing that at some point these two are going to meet, is going to just be a treat. I'm super jacked.
Yeah, although I will say, and this is maybe neither here nor there, I did finally see the Shazam. What is the Shazam 2?
Fury of the Gods.
Fury of the Gods. I hadn't seen that trailer before. I avoid trailers, but also you weren't impressed by it, so I'm like, I'm really going to avoid this one. Kind of agree. Not super jazzed about that.
No.
The new Shazam trailer. It doesn't mean the movie can't be good. Obviously, quite obviously, but yeah, trailer.
I'm very much so hoping it's a swerve, that we're getting a lot of swerve in that trailer, because again, I truly cannot understand the mindset of introducing Savannah and Mr. Mind and then not using any actual good Shazam villains, that, like, not using any of those. I don't. Yeah,
let's hope that that's what they're hiding, right? That is the swerve, right?
I'm really hoping, because if it ends up just being those two characters, maybe it's interesting, maybe it's fun, maybe it's good. I don't know.
I mean, Helen Mirren, great, super.
Lucy Liu, awesome.
Lucy Liu, right? Also fantastic.
But admittedly, I want to see Shazam fight Shazam villains. Like, I don't.
Yeah, does that happen in any comics that you know of at all?
Yes, he's fought gods and all sorts of people before, but I don't know who they're supposed to be.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, see,
that's just it.
That would be a bummer, but okay. Yeah.
In any case, I think it is still a very exciting, action-packed movie. And overall, I think it is overstuffed. It's got too much going on.
It's got a fourth act. It's a fourth act type of movie.
Definitely does. There's a point where you think the movie is over and they're like, oh no, we got a whole nother, like.
Which I know it like that point has Adam in prison, in a water prison, which I'm not, I guess that has to do something with why he can't talk, but it seemed a little weird. But anyway, yes, ends with him in a water prison. So I can see why maybe I should have been like, oh, this isn't the actual end of the movie. But I would have been fine with it right there, honestly. Like, it would have been a bit of a down, maybe a little bit of an Empire Strikes Back ending, but like, I wouldn't have been unsatisfied.
I would have been, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay.
Because at that point, we've had Adam woken up just to put him back to sleep, all within the span of an hour and a half. And now that means the next movie has to be somebody waking him up again. And why? What's the point?
I mean, it would have been the same reason they woke him up again in the same movie,
right? But it's like, like at that point, is the resolution for every movie then we have to put him back to sleep? We have to get him back in. Like,
I guess I did. Yeah, in the moment, I did think it was a kind of a cop out as to why we might not see him in other DC movies for a while. It felt like one of those for a second, but. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate the fourth act, but it was a true moment where stuff started to happen again, and I was like, "Oh, we're not done.
We're not done.
We're still going."
Yeah. So again, overstuffed. I think that a majority of it works. Again, my biggest complaints really do come down to I think those two characters, Cyclone and Atom Smasher, were unnecessary and you know, they're fun. There's a couple of good moments that they get that are worth it.
I do like their relationship. I think their chemistry totally works.
Their chemistry was great. I did really like them together. It's just it was, if we cut out every bit of them, what changes in this movie? You know, like not a lot.
Nothing. Yeah.
And in
few
fact,
moments where they kind of take place in the battle weren't impactful. You would need to rearrange some stuff. Like there's no fan edit where stuff doesn't get left out if you do that. But
right.
Yeah, it would have.
But if they tightened, they could have tightened up this script and really had it been Black Adam versus Hawkman and Dr. Fate versus Intergang versus Sabbac.
Yeah, it feels like they wanted to sell some Atom Smasher and Cyclone toys or something. That's what it feels like. You know,
agreed. Yeah, I'll go with that. I can't disagree. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's a cool movie.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, I mean,
super cool movie. Definitely a rewatch. Definitely getting
yes,
rewatched.
No, for sure. It's on the one hand kind of exactly what you expect and probably what all its detractors are saying it is. You know, it's the big heavy metal superhero movie. Like it starts within minutes, it's playing Rat in a Cage. You know, like which
that's right. Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever appropriate technically, but it's that movie, you know. It is all of the good things I think I've mentioned. You know, I'm not walking any of that back, but if you're in it for that, you're not going to have fun. You know, if you are in it for something different, you know, for there's idiots on both sides. Obviously, very good people. I don't like any of these jokes. There's somebody out there that's like, I bet the people that are saying they hate Black Adam like to drink wine and stuff. You know, like really. Really stupid stuff from it's like the art critics are really getting up in arms about Black Adam. It's neither of those things. It's just a fun movie. Just go have fun, and it's a better one of those. Yeah, DC. In fact, DC movies ranked. This is top 5 easy.
Easy. Yeah. And now let's go ahead and just talk about the bumper, the spoiler,
talking about the bumper with Matt and Ryan.
The mid-credit scene. I will be the one to say, yes, I started the clapping and hooting in my theater, and it was.
Did you?
It was. I was joined by the entire theater. Thank you.
Yeah, there was clapping in my theater as well. I didn't start it, and I don't think it was although there were audible gasps. Yes. I think the clapping came right at the end when the credits started. But yeah, so there had been rumblings of this. I had to stop watching interviews of The Rock at some point because he kept not talking about it to the point where I was like, this is too spoilery for me.
Right.
But yes, freaking Cavill. He got Cavill back, which if anything says how does the line go? The power dynamics in the universe have changed.
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe has changed.
If anything truly says that, it's that The Rock brought Cavill back into Superman, man. Like,
number one, I freaked out. I was so jazzed. Partially because, did you notice his hair? He had the hair. He had the Clark, like the actual Superman hair.
Almost too much. That wasn't my favorite, actually.
I'm totally into it. I totally like that Clark. But he came back. Loved it. I love that Cavill said he's totally back and that he is super jacked to play a happy, joyful Superman, which
Yeah.
so exciting. And then the thing I have to give Dwayne here is he is the one who gets Cavill to come back. He brings him back. And then the thing that I kept saying, and I've told you this, and I think everybody in the world has said this, that has any familiarity. Oh, yeah, of course. He wants to skip fighting Shazam because look at Zachary Levi versus Henry Cavill. And then he comes out and says, yeah, I don't want to fight Superman right away. I want to do it, but not now. We need to build that a little bit more. Like, please give me that stupid Superman Shazam versus Black Adam cartoon. Just do that. Film that with you. And I'm in. Sold. Money. Thousands of dollars. But everybody's saying everything right. And I was so happy to see Cavill back. And I really hope, really hope now with James Gunn being one half of the people in charge of DC Films, I have so much faith that we are going to get good Superman. We're going to get a good set of DC films here. And with Gunn in charge, that also means we are very likely to get some real weird stuff, which is awesome.
that was actually what I was going to say. Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily think, and obviously Gunn's not going to be directing the next Superman movie, whatever it is. But yeah, I am curious what, because yeah, it does feel like there's a Superman movie missing, right? Because we got Man of Steel, there are Defenders, and I think the things that Man of Steel does right are gorgeous and fantastic. Watch that trailer. I'll watch that trailer before I'll watch that movie again.
I love that movie. I hate the part with, and I loved Kevin Costner in that role too. That was maybe the most frustrating thing. And that scene sucks. I don't like it. Outside of that, I'm into that whole movie. Give me everything about it.
But then we went straight into Batman v Superman, like blah blah blah. Like, obviously we never kind of got the movie certainly that me and you, the Superman movie that certainly me and you wanted.
We needed the one in between Batman v Superman.
Yeah. So
and unfortunately,
stoked if that's what can finally happen. But this is the strange thing. Like, The Rock can bring Cavill back, but what's the promise? Like, is it just that it's not Zack Snyder anymore? Because did he give him a whole script? Did he, like, they must have had talks, because Cavill, it wasn't just that he didn't want to do the character, right? He wanted to do the character, if you believe what he says.
The issue, my understanding of the issue has always been that Warner has never known what to do with Superman. They don't know how to write him. They don't know what to do with him. Cavill has consistently said he wants to do the character. He's never left the character.
So that's what I'm saying. They must have given him enough to be like, oh, they've finally figured it out, right?
Well, I have to assume that when you look at, you see the James Gunn stuff, you see Shazam, you now see Black Adam, we've got Birds of Prey, a whole bunch of movies that overall have a very good rating level, right? All of them, all of those did very well. And
Wonder Woman 1984,
and none of those were the grim, dark, awful, like that. Not awful, but the grim, dark, the Zack Snyder stuff that made Superman so dour. None of that's there. That all takes place in a world where maybe that Superman did exist, but we can easily change that up. Like, we see Peacemaker making jokes. We see these characters having fun. Superman can be the good, happy Superman. We can do that. Hell, James Gunn brought in Starro. Are you kidding me? Why can't Superman now just be a good guy?
I've got it. The James Gunn Superman movie versus Mxyzptlk.
Mr. Mxyzptlk. That would be amazing.
Done.
And
that actually would really fit, but
it would be fantastic. That's I mean, actually, Mxyzptlk would be a good way to bring in Superman with the Flash also, because Flash dealing with different dimensions and then crossing them and running through them can also be fun. But at the end of this, what I think personally, I mean, again, this is anecdotal from nothing. My assumption is that when you get a phone call from Dwayne Johnson who says, "Hey, this movie happened. We are doing it. It's filming. I want you for 10 minutes. I want you for one day. I need 1 day of your time. Put your Superman suit on. We're going to make this into something else. We're going to create the new DC universe. I just think based on those little things, Cavill goes, yeah, all right, I'm in.
No, I mean, I think they were certainly more specific with the direction of the character.
I'm sure that.
Also, I like how we
and
haven't talked about money at all at this point. He probably is.
I mean, of course, money is always
making some money.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear based on his statements after Adam came out when he said, I am excited to play a joyous, happy Superman.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that was the promise. It's we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it the right way. Superman is going to be Superman. He's going to be the right Superman.
Yeah. So here's my Waller question then. I was a little thrown that Waller was the one sending in Superman. Like, yes, it was a fun line about I'll send somebody in that's not of this earth then. But the fact that she would be pulling Superman strings in some way didn't seem right for some reason.
Okay, so there is an easy explanation for this also. At the end of the day for Waller is trying to basically secure the earth and the United States. That's her biggest concern. Superman's concern is the world, right? But his major space is, of course, the U.S. It's where Lois is. It's Metropolis, right? It makes perfect sense that Waller, who is a part of a government agency, whether Superman likes it or not, he knows what goes on. This is referenced all the time in the comics. There are certain levels that he will not pass because they're government related, and he believes in the United States government. So she's a government agent. She gets a hold of him to say, look, we have a terrorist threat that could be a major problem. And she's going to spin it her own way. He'll go. Of course he'll go. And on top of that, you have the death of Dr. Fate. You have the JSA causing, there's a whole big issue there now. This is going to be covered in the news. People are going to now know Kahndaq has their savior back. Again, I don't think it doesn't take too many leaps for me to get Waller being that person.
Sure. No, it doesn't take too many leaps. And you're right. The biggest point I like right there is that if it's Superman playing up the Boy Scout, because that was always the criticism there, was that he's just a big Boy Scout. That I guess that works. But
yeah, and this is him being the Boy Scout, and because the conversation with Waller that he would have is very different than the one that she can have with Hawkman, right? Because with Superman, she can give him any direction she wants, but all she's doing is giving him information.
Right. Also that, yes, I'm sure there's in the movie in the Superman movie where maybe Waller does still show up, they have an acrimonious relationship or
100%.
Something like that. He's not necessarily an agent, but you're right. She is manipulative and would give him information that he's not going to act on just because it comes from her. Yeah. I just say in the moment for that stinger, I'm like, and it was certainly for impact the way it was done. Like,
yeah,
I get it. Yeah, it's fine. Just made it seem like she was sending her agent after him, like Superman was part of the Suicide Squad or something.
Yeah, I don't read it that way because I don't ever read Superman being like that. Superman is,
yeah.
So she is calling in. This is her calling in a favor. This is her basically saying, "Hey, we have somebody who I don't know how to defeat. We just sent these guys. I need your help."
Yeah, no, it's obviously still works. And I see the entire next movie too, because we haven't even mentioned this. Black Adam kind of does the comedy right. Like, I didn't really ever have an issue with any of the jokes. They kind of all landed. They're pretty sparse. It's not, we're not Marvel level here on even Avengers or anything like that. Like his whole catchphrase bits, the catchphrase then kill. Like he has an issue trying to figure it out.
But it's funny and it works. See, that's the other thing I did like those, because he was a person. He is still a person. He has a personality. He's not just, and I think the way he deals with it is also really funny. Really, really works.
Yeah,
out.
Even for the stuff that was like a bridge too far, I laughed out loud. Like when he drops the guy and then says the catchphrase real quick because he remembers as the guy's falling to his death, like, and can't even finish it before. Like, I laughed out loud at that, but even though it kind of is almost too much. But yeah, because of that, I can see the Superman Black Adam movie. Because then, maybe they fight eventually, but they're going to come together at some point too. I see that odd couple kind of being pretty fun.
The smart thing, if they really want to do something here, is we can tie some stuff together very easily with what already exists and make it work really well by making Darkseid has been introduced.
Bringing Darkseid back.
Adam, Superman, Shazam, basically the JSA fight Darkseid. There you go. That's how you do that. I mean, that's how, because
it feels too tied up in the Snyderverse, just about.
It doesn't have to be, though. That's the thing. It is because what needs to happen is the introduction of the different Superman. At that point, once Superman is reintroduced, everything else that's been used can still be reused. I think I don't see any issues with it. You can still have Ben Affleck's Batman as he was. You can still have the same Diana. You can have, the only person you really can't have is Ezra Miller anymore, and that's for probably good reason. But
that movie hasn't even come out yet.
But look, let's just go ahead and find any red-haired person and make them into Bart and just have them be Bart or Wally, for crying out loud.
I know there's so many flashes that it kind of doesn't matter. Yeah. Like they'll figure that out, I'm sure. But.
I don't know. I guess to summarize, I really liked Black Adam. I loved that stinger, and I'm really hopeful for the future of the DC universe. Finally,
it's exciting. Yeah, cool.
Right,
I would give it 91 stars.
Out
Let's be
of
realistic.
18 Shazams!
So if you enjoyed Black Adam, you can let us know at podcast@bookclubformovies.com. I don't even remember if I gave any of this info up front. Facebook, Twitter, you might not even need it because I've said it so many times. Patreon, where, again, you're listening to this probably already a week early than anybody else.
How cool are you? The coolest.
But we also do, we will be doing certainly little one-off videos, written pieces. Matt's mere minutes away from completing the newsletter for the month of October, a grand trip through lots of things. There's usually like a theme, but there's also so much going on that it becomes a cornucopia.
A cornucopia.
Delights. So check it out. If you got $2, you can do it for a whole month. That's how cheap we are.
Yeah, I'm cheap.
And we'll be back next week. I'm not even going to try to figure out what we'll be back with next week. Probably a noir film This is
going to get released sometime in November, so it'll be a Noir-vember film of some type. Yeah.
With any luck, it might be Out of the Past. We'll see how well that holds up at the very least. And that show will exist at some point. So
it will.
Come back, and we'll see you then. Thank you. You're amazing and beautiful. And
I love you.
Black Adam.
I like that in the movie, they only call him Teth Adam until the very end, and then he goes, maybe I'll change my name to Title Screen. I laughed out loud at that. I went, really? Come on.
Really? Claps, whistles. Are you sure? Claps, whistles.
I can't believe how much I loved that, and it's stupid.
Okay, bye.